Okay, so the last section that we're looking at in this one is, or this section, is solving rational functions. So what we've looked at is we've looked at adding them together, multiplying rational functions, dividing, subtracting, simplifying, and now we're going to set these equal to something, or set them equal to another rational function, and then solve. Okay, and so that's what we're going to be doing in this one. So let's say we have this. We have negative x, or negative 2 over x squared minus 2 equals 2 over x minus 4. Now the question is, how do we solve this? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to cross multiply. Okay, so we're just going to multiply, just like if you set up a proportion, we're doing the same thing. We're just going to cross multiply. So we're just going to go 2 times x squared minus 2 is equal to negative 2 times x minus 4. So cross multiply, set them equal to each other, distribute, and then solve. So as you see here, once we distribute this, we get 2x squared minus 4 is equal to negative 2x plus 8. And now we're going to move everything to one side. And when we move everything to one side, we get this equals 0. And now we try to find the numbers that will get us 0 in this. So you could use your calculator for this to find it. You could factor it, which is what we're going to do right now. You take the first times the last, so that would be a negative 24. Two numbers multiplied together get you a negative 24. Added together get you a 2. That would be positive 6 and negative 4. So we would have 2x squared minus 4x plus 6x minus 12. Group factor the first, group factor the last two. The first 2x comes out, leaving you with an x minus 2, and a 6 comes out of the next one, gives you an x minus 2. Since they're the same, that's 1. So it looks like x minus 2 and 2x plus 6, which gets you about negative 3 halves, or negative 3 as one of your answers, and a 2 for your other one. Okay. Or by using the quadratic formula, either one. So then what you would do is you would plug them back in to make sure that they both work. Okay. And then once you do that, you see that only positive 2 works. Negative 3 does not work in this case. Okay. So negative 2 would be your only answer. Okay. Or positive 2. Positive 2 would be your only answer in this case. So what you're going to do is you're just going to cross multiply, and then once you cross multiply, you set it equal, or you move everything to one side. Then you might have to use quadratic formula, might not. But then what you want to do is you want to solve for, you want to plug them back in to make sure they work. So let's look at this one. So again, we're going to cross multiply, which gives us an 8x is equal to 5x plus 15. Okay, make sure you distribute to both parts. Minus 5x, minus 5x, and then all you're doing is you just solve for x. 3x is equal to 15, which means that x must equal 5. And now if we plug 5 into this, we get 5 over 5, which is 1. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 over 8 is also 1. So your answer would be 5. Okay. So these are pretty straightforward. When they're just two that are equal to each other, you just cross multiply and then just solve for whatever it is. Okay, now if you have something that's like a subtraction or an addition where the denominator is different, what you're going to have to do is you have to get a common denominator, like what we did in the previous one. Get that least common multiple. So the least common multiple in this first one, or the least common multiple at the bottom, would be x times x plus 1. So the first one, we're going to have to multiply by x plus 1, and the second one, we're going to have to multiply by x. Okay, and we don't have to worry about the other half yet. All we want to do is just focus on one side of the equal sign. Now once we have this, multiply it in, getting us a 4x plus 4. And then we're going to subtract that by 3x, and that's all over x times x plus 1. And then that equals 1. Combine like terms, giving us an x plus 4, all over x times x plus 1. That equals 1. From here we can cross multiply, because 1 is the same as saying 1 over 1. So now when we cross multiply, That gives us an x plus 4 is equal to x squared plus x. And all I did was I distributed this x to both parts, then I multiplied it across. Subtract both these to the other side, giving us an x squared minus 4 is equal to 0. So I subtracted x on both sides, got rid of those, and then subtracted the 4. And then after that, we solve for x. X squared minus 4 equals 0. That gives us x squared is equal to 4, which means x equals plus or minus 2. So now we would plug in positive and negative 2 into our answer. We would plug in plus or minus 2 into our answer to make sure that it works. Okay, and as we see, it actually does work out in this case. Okay, you plug in either one and you get your correct answer. So both of them are your answers. Okay. So again, if you're adding or subtracting, you want to get a common denominator and then cross multiply. So get a common denominator on each side and then cross multiply. And then after that, all you need is just to solve for x. So you're either going to be using quadratic formula, which would be negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. If you can't factor it by just looking at it, you can use this and that'll tell you your answers. Okay. Or you can factor them, either one. Your IRAP for this one, so the first one, solve, it's just a cross multiplication. You don't have to get a common denominator, just cross multiply, solve for x. And the next one, you're going to have to see if you get a common denominator. If you have a common denominator, then just combine the two fractions and then solve for the number. Okay. All right. And so that's solving rational expressions.